Are you? And welcome to the very first Focus on Wellness 2021. I am Aaron and I'm hanging out with Lisa Kay and Sharon today. And we want to spend some time and discuss, chop up, talk about wellness. This is actually a new class that is facilitated by Char Boyette. We're substituting for Char, so henceforth and forevermore, you will see Char on Wednesdays at 2:30 for this support group. But today, the A team is in here, and we're gonna jump in here and hang out with you. So just want to come around real quickly and ask Sharon to jump on and just say a hello, and then we'll ask Lisa to do that, and then we'll dig into some Focus on Wellness 2021. Sharon?
Hey everybody. My name's Sharon Galewski and I'm a peer support specialist at Promise Resource Network. I also do a lot of the classes and I'm so glad to be a part of this today. I'm excited talking about what we're going to talk about, and that's it.
All right. Lisa Kay, jump on.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Lisa Kay and I work here at Promise Resource Network. I'm co-director with Aaron. Do a lot of other different stuff here at Promise Resource. Just excited about this afternoon, getting an opportunity to hang out with two of my favorite people at Promise Resource, which is Sharon and Aaron.
We're twins.
Yeah, the twins. So we're here being very safe. We're in the same building, but in 3 different rooms. So this is kind of a new thing for us. We're normally not together lately, so it's kind of nice knowing that they're both close by. Can't touch them, but they are in other rooms. So it's kind of neat, kind of being kind of close to 2 of my very favorite people in the whole world. As Aaron says, chop this subject up today. So I'm glad to be here and hope you guys enjoy this and chime in. We have a chat section, so if you want to chat, make comments, we'll be able to see them, and you can be right here with us, helping us chop this subject up today. So welcome.
Thank you, Lisa, so much. Thank you, Sharon. This class, Focus on Wellness 2021, focuses on the exploration of relationships between mental health and our overall wellness. The class envisions wellness as the presence of a positive purpose in our lives. The emphasis of the class is on positive goals, learning self-management skills, and developing healthy habits, which focus on personal strengths and personal responsibilities. And so the foundation for this class, as is most of the classes at Promise Resource Network, our foundation is on SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness. And what Char is going to do over the next several months is to be able to dissect the wheel of wellness, the 8 dimensions of wellness, and spend time looking at the connection of these dimensions of wellness and our health, specifically for Focus on Wellness 2021, our mental health, how our mental health plays such a key component to our overall health. So what we're going to do today, me and the A team, we're going to dissect and spend time with this wheel. We're going to look at definitions of the 8 dimensions of wellness. And we're inviting you to chime in. You can ask questions, leave your comments, talk about your experiences. But if you're out there hanging out, we really want you to participate in the class. And moving forward, please support Char on Wednesdays at 2:30 for this support group, this class, and please share it. Get it out there. Make sure that people are participating in the great information that we'll be sharing. So, ladies, as we start this, we look at these 8 dimensions of wellness, what we call the wellness wheel, and have found that as we build wellness, the complexity of who we are as people means that there's not just one thing to build upon, or there's not just one variable that makes us complete. It's a whole picture. And when we combine and connect these dimensions of wellness, we are now approaching a holistic wellness for ourselves. And so just want to talk about that, the holistic wellness that we get to see and experience when we connect, so to speak, the dots, connect these dimensions. Both of you have taught these classes so long and often founded on the 8 dimensions, and you pretty much know them like the back of your hand. So let's talk about that today. I would like to start with just naming the dimensions, and then I'm going to come around and ask you to grab one of the 8 that I mentioned and sort of dissect it with the definition and give some thoughts about it. And so the 8 dimensions are these: emotional, financial, social, spiritual, occupational, physical, intellectual, and environmental. So I'm going to say it again, but this time counterclockwise. Environmental, intellectual, physical, occupational, spiritual, social, financial, and emotional. I've always been, Sharon, under the belief that there probably are more, right? This is, as this was put together, and the people who began to look at wellness in a holistic viewpoint came up with these dimensions, and these are foundational, but I'm sure there are more that we could possibly, as we unveil this and unwrap this, we would find other components of life that would be a part of this. But for today, we just want to look at this wheel of 8 dimensions. Sharon, for you, if you had to grab one to start with, which dimension of wellness for you is a key component of your building wellness and recovery? Can you hear me, Sharon?
For me, I couldn't really hear you. Were breaking up pretty bad, but if I'm understanding, you're asking which of the 8 dimensions jumps out at me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Social jumps out at me. Social's my thing. You know, I always push, not push, but encourage people with their tribe, their entourage, you know, their village, to get a strong and supportive group of folks to help us. And when I think of that, it says developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. And I love that, because that's connection and belonging. I sought all my life. That's what I was looking for out there when I was doing what I was doing pre-recovery. I was just looking to be connected to something or someone. And when we talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, the social part is so critical for me, because I'm a people person. I require a lot of energy to keep going. And my social network, my group of folks here at PRN, and my personal group really are able to hold me up, and keep me connected. So that's all I got.
Okay. How am I saying? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about you, Lisa K? If you had to, well, first of all, Lisa, the social dimension that Sharon just spoke about, what are your thoughts on the social dimension? And then what other dimension, as we add on, is important to you in building recovery and wellness?
Yeah, I agree with Sharon. The social connections are really important. I think we're just, in my opinion, you know, we're created to, you know, to seek each other out, to have those connections, and but they need to be healthy. Sometimes I like to isolate. I think during COVID, we being forced to isolate, I found out I didn't like to isolate as much as I thought I did. Because when we first started, I thought, oh, this is great. Nope, not so much. And we had to get real creative around that social piece through Zooms and chat rooms and all of those things to try to connect with each other. Phone, just, being on the phone, hearing someone's voice is okay, but being able to see faces, just like I said before, when we started, knowing that you guys were in just around the corner in the same building as me, gave me a different feeling than if I was at home right now doing this class. It's just a different connection. So having those social connections, being able to belong and feel a part of is so important for me. So I agree with Sharon on that one. So much more now since COVID, and really digging in deep and kind of being isolated and realizing we took some of that for granted. And that now that we're still kind of having to isolate and not wanting to, we're all tired of trying to figure out how to connect with each other and have those healthy social COVID social activities, things that are good for our mental health, but also safe for our physical health as well. So, but I think for me, the one that kind of sticks out for me right now, I don't want to talk about that one because that ain't about me. So the one that I want to talk about is the one that I remember talking about a lot when we were open here at PRN, and that was environmental. And when I'm going to read what the little definition is, because I think when we hear environmental on the wheel of wealth, we just think of a structure, like a house, right? But it goes so much deeper than that. So environmental, good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support well-being. So when someone says environmental, they think, oh, it's where somebody lives. No, it's not always where somebody lives. It can be their work environment. It can be where, they study, where they go to school. It's any environment that you are in a lot. And we do think a lot about our home, our environment in our home or in our work. Is it healthy? Does it promote growth? Does it promote good things? And so you can live in the most beautiful home, safe home in Charlotte, North Carolina. But what goes on inside of that home, if it's not healthy, it's not a good environment. So just because it is sound structure doesn't make it a good environment. So we used to have these discussions a lot about what was a good environment at PRN. And so it's kind of through the eyes of us. It's what is a good environment. And so what will we do to make sure that we have a good environment? What does that look like to you? What is pleasant to me may not be pleasant to you. So I think it's kind of to each his own. That's why this wheel is so cool, I think, because it is unique to each of us. The definitions are kind of simple to me. And the reason I think they are is because they are unique to all of us. Because what's good for me is maybe different for you. So it's just very unique. But to me, the wheel is so important because each one of these dimensions, to me, are equal. And one gets off balance, the wheel doesn't quite roll right. And so in our recovery, in our wellness, we are kind of wobbling going down the road in our life. And that's why it's important that we tackle this subject of the 8 dimensions, that we shore up or strengthen up each part of this wheel. So as we're rolling through our recovery, our wheel is rolling as smooth as it can, so we can have, a safe journey in our life, a more fulfilling journey in our life. So I think the environmental for me is important because I like to land in many different places, and and what I do, I have passion about, and most people do. And so we need to make sure our environments support us as we grow, as we live, as we are around the people we care about.
Thank you. That whole wheel analogy I liked, right? That whole going down the road and just in my mind looking at it and wobbling down, trying to figure it out, sometimes with bad tread, sometimes with not enough air. And so that wheel has to be taken care of, and that wheel has to be right if we're going to do this thing. Mine, Sharon and Lisa, as for me, that's always priority, and I think we shared this with someone the other day, is the spiritual dimension of wellness, because I love the definition. The definition takes us away from the religiosity of spiritual thinking and takes us into purpose. The definition, according to Samsa, is expanding our sense of purpose and meaning of life. Meaning in life. And so many of us, I know I did, struggle in finding wellness, building wellness, because I couldn't understand and did not know the meaning for my life, my purpose, destiny, if you want to throw that word in the mix. Once I began to understand why I'm here, I often share with people that I am one of those fortunate folks that I know every day of my life, I have a purpose. I wake up to help people. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know where it's going to happen, but I do know that every day of my life, I wake up to help people. Well, that's one thing I don't have to worry about. I never have to worry about being tall. I'm like 6'9". I never have to worry about being black. That's who I am. I never have to worry about being a man. So I don't have to think through those things in life. I don't have to process those as I'm processing mortgage or I'm processing car note. I don't have to process those, and I don't have to process my purpose because I know what it is. And according to this definition, you know that purpose, you understand your meaning, and the spiritual dimension of wellness means you expand it, you grow it, you go deeper into why you do what you do. And so many times, our mental wellness, because we don't understand purpose, we struggle in certain areas. We attach ourselves to things that have nothing to do with our purpose. We find ourselves going places that have nothing to do with our purpose. So for me, the spiritual part of the will, the spiritual dimension is also important because everything else connects to that. Sharon, what else would you say? What would be another dimension that you find vital, that you find impactful, that you want to talk about?
I guess the physical. Recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. I don't recognize the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. That's one that I always circle because there's so much more I can do for myself. Now, I opted about 2-3 years ago to start my journey to get out of pain. And so far, I've had several things replaced in my body, and it has consistently lessened my pain, which has increased my ability to feel good, right? So the physical aspect is critical because when I think about when I don't feel well, it affects so many other things. It affects those other dimensions. And when I don't take care of myself with sleep, with food, that's good for me. With water, I've heard is good for you. I Diet Coke, I don't know. But that's one thing I'm always lacking. That's the one that always jumps out at me because I tend to deal with things after. After I get to the point where I definitely needed to take action. So just trying to take care of myself, learning how to do that in a more effective way, having the willingness to work on that is big for me too.
I get that, Sharon. The physical is one that I struggle with, but it's one that I visit all the time, whether it's through the nutrition diet piece, the rest piece of it, the sleep. Ooh, that's a biggie for me. Not enough. So that's one of the dimensions on the wheel, Sharon, that I also I don't know. I spend a lot of time with it. I don't always see a lot of success in it, but I spend a lot of time with it. I wanted to say hello to Brianna, who's on hanging out with us. Hey, Brianna. I hope you're enjoying this. Brianna says this is such an important class, and I agree, Brianna. So, Lisa K, what other dimension on the wheel speaks to you? One that you emphasized, or one that you pay a lot of attention to?
Um, well, I think occupational is very important. I was going to go to the financial one, but I kind of be like Sharon on the physical one. So, yeah, so occupational, personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from one's work. And this can also be from volunteer work. It doesn't have to be paid, I don't think. I think it can be what we need in our life. But I like to work. I've been working since I was 14 years old. That was back in the day where you could. And so I've been working forever. I don't ever remember not working, to be honest with you, making some coins, in my own way, but also being a part of a team, working with people, doing those kind of things, getting out of the house and learning. And had jobs I didn't really care about or didn't like too much. But as we grow in those occupations, we begin to understand what it is we do like, right? So, but having that personal satisfaction, get from work, that we, Aaron, you alluded to it, that every day you get up and you do know that you are going to help people. And that's part of your job too. I always tell people at PRN, I have the best job in the world. I get paid to love you. I'm going to love you anyway, because that's what I do. But I actually have a job where I get paid to love you. And I get paid to love you in the 8 dimensions of wellness. I get to teach. I get to model. I get to all kind of things right here at PRN. I have the best job in the world. And so that's how I feel about it. So being able to find that job that really fulfills you, that you get satisfaction when you leave, that you were able to help someone, or you were able to make the organization or the place that you worked a little bit better that day, to run a little smoother that day, that you just showed up and did your job that day. And that's all you could get done that day, is just show up and do what you did. But it helped. It was the whole team effect, So I think for me, that's a biggie. I'm just a person that grew up with a family of hard workers. As far back as I can remember, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, and they instilled that in me, and I never ever thought about not working. But I think that even after work is no more, I think when I retire, I think I'll be volunteering. My mom volunteers. She has volunteered ever since she quit working, which she says now she works harder now than she did when she was working, but works as a volunteer. And she is probably as healthy as she was when she was working. So I believe in her physical health, her being able to stay busy and be satisfied in the occupation, even if it's not paid, has helped her overall wellness. She'll kill me. No, she won't, because she's proud of her age. She's 77, and she can run circles around most people half her age. And so she gets up every morning, and she 3 times a week she is at this place that she volunteers, and she works hard, and they couldn't do it without her. And so she is definitely modeling how it connects to her overall wellness. And I believe that she'll do that till she can't do it anymore. So, and there's no money involved. It's that satisfaction of giving back, that occupation. That's not even tied to the financial part. but it is tied to your wellness and how you feel. So she's kind of a walking example of that. So she's kind of my role model when it comes to work and occupation and satisfaction and giving back, that kind of thing. So I kind of see myself really wanting to walk that same road as she has. So I'm 77, I can still be getting it, you know?
And you know, Lisa, that's a part that we often miss out of the definition of occupational. We look at career and job, but we miss those two components: personal satisfaction and enrichment. It's just vital that not only am I satisfied where I'm at doing it, it's making me better. It's making my life better. And because we understand that sometimes community, sometimes culture, not understanding mental health and mental wellness, we eliminate a whole segment of the population from working because of a diagnosis, when in reality, helping people find that career, helping them find that worth through occupation is so therapeutic. It's so medicinal. It helps to heal those things. And so, yeah, occupational, and I can see why it's on the will, because it becomes such an important piece of what we do. Sharon, I want to go back to the physical. One of the things that I realize about the physical, as it talks about recognizing the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition, a piece that I've always added in teaching about the 8 dimensions is part of that dimension should be rest. And we oftentimes connect sleep and rest when many times those are two separate things, right? Just to be able to rest our minds and to be able to find the rest that we need. Sometimes, right, Lisa, in occupation, right? Sometimes we find that in our environment, that without the good and healthy places, pleasant places of environmental, we can't find rest there. And so I think that that's a real important piece. I just want to come back to that, Sharon. Many people, I was one of them, that the issue was I couldn't find rest. Part of it is I didn't have occupational peace. I didn't know my spiritual purpose or meaning. Socially, I was connected to things that wasn't good for me. And so rest eluded me. And once I started building wellness and recovery, I started realizing how important rest is and being able to find rest, because it is conducive to wellness. Sharon, on the wheel, what else do you see that you, when you look at it on the wheel, is something that you grab hold of?
Is that me, Aaron?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, financial. Is that the last one we have left? I've had a hard time hearing you also.
Oh no, we
What do
actually
you have
have
left?
we actually have intellectual, emotional, and financial.
Let's do intellectual, recognizing creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. And that's not just bookwork. You know, a lot of times when I first saw the intellectual aspect, I thought, okay, just going back to school, going further, you know, learning a trade, whatever it is. But recognizing creative abilities, I love that. Recognizing in myself what I bring, you know, from myself, and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills, seeking those things about recovery, about the 8 dimensions, about whatever you're striving for, you know, to get that knowledge and skill, I think for me was critical. To learn For me to learn not to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, was one of my greatest lessons. So, so we grow constantly. We're always learning and growing. So I like that, recognizing the creative abilities and finding ways to expand knowledge and skills. I like that one.
Yeah, I do too, Sharon. When we recognize things, we get to identify. Right? We get to identify what's what's good for us. We get to identify the things that we like. And I like in the definition, there's a given that we all have creative abilities. It's taken for granted that we all have creative abilities, and we get to explore those for our wellness. Lisa, when you look at the intellectual dimension, what rings a bell for you? What is loud in that definition for you?
Well, I think for me, for many years, it was just when I kind of went back and thought about this early on, probably like in my recovery, maybe a couple of years into my recovery, learning about this will, I kept thinking about school, going, that kind of thing, going back and working on that kind of intellectual, expanding my knowledge, getting certificates or degrees, or finishing up something in school. But over the last probably 3 years for me, that has expanded into more of the creativity part of it. Because, I don't want to go back to school anymore. So, but, it's not that I don't want to learn. I wanted to learn something different. I wanted to tap into that creative part of myself. Where I can discover, and not just reading and discovering what someone else discovered. I want to discover something on my own. And I think that's where the creative abilities come in. So when we dive into that creative part, we may just tap into something that has never been tapped in before. And an example of that is, even though it's kind of a silly example, but few years back we did Brave, and I did those crazy flamingos where I took those plastic yard birds and turned them into people's recovery stories. And we did Sharon's, remember Sharon's, and we had so many. I don't remember how many we did now, but it was a lot. Yeah, many people paint those, but there's, nobody's flamingo looks like Sharon's flamingo bird, right? So that was a way for me to tap into some creativity. Nobody was thinking about sitting down with Sharon and taking her interpretation of her recovery story and taking this plastic pink flamingo and turning it into her vision of herself in recovery and what it meant to her. And so to me, that was very creative. It was one of a kind. I don't know that anybody would ever think about Sharon and her recovery story in that way, but each person was able to do that. So other things that I've done or have kind of talk with other people about as we talk about that creative side of exploring. 'Cause I think that's where, for me, I can come up with originality, original things. In that intellectual side, I could pull some things out that maybe nobody else had ever tried before, or it didn't look just like, that you could, find something exciting to do and to grow in, but you could also stand back and say, I did that. I know it's silly, but I did that. I created that. Nobody else wants to create it, but that's okay because I created it. It was my creation. And I found a lot of healing in creating and painting and imagining things. So that's what I draw out of that intellectual wheel, part of the wheel.
Yeah, I like that, Sharon. I'm glad you took us here. That part about finding, we dismiss the creativity of people, right? We again, looking at diagnosis, we sort of look at the verbiage of diagnosis and what we understand that to be, and we make that the person when that's not true. And we have this opportunity to help people find creativity, and it says finding ways to expand. Finding ways to become more knowledgeable of something that you like, or develop some skills to help people find that piece that's already inside of them, and we just get to help them discover that in their wellness. An important part of the will, the dimension is emotional, coping effectively with life. I love this one. And creating satisfying relationships. I like that bridge, coping effectively with life. So that's me. I've got to be able to do that. I've got to find ways to cope with the life that's been presented to me, the life that I'm in. But also connected to that is creating satisfying relationships. So in Aaron world, when I Aaronize these things, coping effectively should have with that satisfying relationships. But those relationships don't happen. It says by definition, I create those. So let's talk about that for a minute. As people as people build wellness, as people begin to shape wellness as a way of life, how do we help people create satisfying relationships that work for them, that become nutritional for their lives? Either one, somebody jump in.
For me, when I first got into recovery, I had no idea what a satisfying relationship was, let alone how to create one. And like I said, with the social, I had such a loneliness in me. And I wanted to have those relationships where I was truly connected to people. But I had to learn. I had no idea. I mean, the life that I had lived, especially in the latter years, was not very conducive to long-term relationships. So when I think about that, I watched what people did. I watched people that had friends and had those relationships that were significant. I watched them, and then I tried to do what they did because it worked. It worked for them. Maybe if it works for them, it'll work for me. And sometimes it did, and sometimes it didn't. But I had to see it. I had to experience it, and I had to have people consider me as part of their satisfying relationships too. So I had to learn a lot really about that.
Lisa K.
Well, I think for me, I always tell people, don't come to me for relationship advice. I haven't been the one too successful with that. But I think over the years, I think trying to discover why that is, right? And so when we look at some of the emotional, the coping effectively with life, some of the things that we do is we shut down, and that's one of the things that I realized about myself is I just kind of go to myself. So I had to be more desirable to have those relationships with. When I'm at work and when I'm out by myself, sometimes we're two different people, right? So I think being very real and genuine about who you are is a place to start. I love what Sharon says. I think that's a great thing to do. Any of these wheels, any of these sections of this wheel, if there's somebody that has what you want on any of these, I mean, it's legal and it's safe, right? And it fits your moral standards, then yeah, by all means, watch, talk with them. They're modeling how to do that. Sometimes it's not about reading it in a book. It's about, like Sharon said, she watched people have relationships and she saw what she thought they were happy, right? And so she wanted what they had, so she did that. And I love that. And I think we could take that advice for a lot of these things and any of the dimensions of wellness as we grow and find folks who seem to have it, talk with them, watch how they do things. And I think it's great advice because some of us learn by watching, right? By watching. not or by hearing, whatever it is, just being able to be in tune with yourself and being real. And I think being able to speak up has been one of my issues over the years, and being able to just say what I was feeling instead of not feeling worthy of, to be able to have feelings, right? So just go with that people pleaser, you know. And so sometimes when you're a people pleaser, you're a very lonely person. So, because you're never really real about who you are and what your needs are. So, but yeah.
I think you both. Yeah, you did. Because there's no right or wrong, right? We get to delve in, and that's the beauty of. That's one of the beauties of utilizing the 8 dimensions of wellness, build wellness, because the definitions are what you make of them, right? The definitions, when you look at environmental and it says good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments. Well, Lisa, I know you did the Christmas Eve parade down in South Carolina, right? The Christmas parade. So me being from Philly, though I really enjoyed it, if I were to look back on my 61 years, my stimulating environments would not have been that country town in South Carolina. It would have been somewhere up in one of those urban areas of Philadelphia. Sharon, you have spent, as I have, time in the military. In those times in the military, there were certain places within our experience we found to be stimulating environments. Some we're like, we never want to go back there again, right? So the point is, we get to define in our wellness what works for us and what doesn't. So not only did you answer the question, both of you help others to be able to say, you know what, if that's what they think, this is what I think. And what I think about me is just as important as what they think about them. Financial. We all sort of run from the financial dimension of wellness. Financial satisfaction with current and future financial situations. If we're really looking at holistic wellness, finance becomes a major piece of, we need to be able to afford the lives that we want. It's really tough when you can't. How do we create satisfaction with our current situation? I mean, and everybody's situation is different. How do you help someone begin to build something good when they don't see the good in what they have? How do you do? That's a tricky one, Sharon. You've been working with people for a long time. How do we do that, Sharon? How do we help people begin with the satisfaction of what's current so they can build what they want? Were you able to hear me, Sharon?
I cannot hear you, sweetie. I'm so sorry. I must be in the wrong part of the building.
That's okay. That's all right. Lisa, can you hear me?
I'll just sit here and look cute. How's that?
Oh, and you're doing a good job at that, Sharon. Lisa, can you hear me?
You're coming in clear right now. Can you say it again?
Yeah, the financial part of wellness. How do we help people build satisfaction with financial wellness?
I think as much as I'll ever make, I'll spend. You know, the more we make, the more we spend. It all kind of evens out. But when I wasn't able to meet my basic needs, it affected every one of these. It affected every one of those. And the financial aspect is critical. It's you need money to live. And that's the reality of it. So the financial aspect affects us greatly. It affects where we're able to go to get things, to get our needs met, who we're able to go to, those sort of things.
Lisa K?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I think with the financial piece is believing, you know, that you can have the life that you want, that you can afford the life that you want. You know, I think so for me, that's how I can speak on, and I know for a lot of folks that I've sat with over the years, just that hopelessness or feeling beat down in their early walks of recovery or before they began their walks in recovery. Just believing that this is the way it's going to be. I'm always going to be this way or that way, and I'm not going to be able to have anything because my parents never had anything, my grandmother didn't have anything. This is my lot in life, and being able to help people just sit back and reshape their life, reshape their thinking, our belief system can be hard. I think our society sometimes creates barriers. Not sometimes, a lot of the time, creates those barriers for folks around that financial piece. If you don't look like this type of person or act like this type of person or don't live in this part of Charlotte. But I think that I know for us here at Promise Source, we definitely try to help knock those barriers down. And I think having someone to kind of walk with you is a step in the right direction around this financial piece, because I know for me, I had in mind, I didn't pay bills. I ruined my credit. I had my power cut off. I just about lost everything I owned. And I know for me, it was embarrassing. So when I started working back on my financial piece on my wheel, have somebody to the same thing, and it was possible, really was helpful. And so I know both of you on the screen are homeowners with me now and have walked that same journey that we once thought we'd never own our own homes, now are, along with the banks, but we now have mortgages instead of, having to live somewhere we don't want to live, that we now can build, and that we have, we can start working on that. And so I think that it is one of those things that finding someone that can walk with you and can have a belief in you that has lived experience, where you don't feel blamed or shamed, to start digging in. And I think once we can see a little bit of hope in someone else, we can also see that reflection back on us. And that, to me, that financial piece is a huge, big part of this wheel. And it was for me. But it is a hard one to talk about.
It can be really challenging. I just wanted to tell everyone, these 8 dimensions of wellness are guideposts. They help us be able to take this large thing called wellness and be able to break it down in doable parts. It also allows us as people to see the complexity of who we are and to address that in a way where we are giving each part of what we are, our environmental, our intellectual, our physical, our occupational, our spiritual, social, financial, and emotional needs, what they deserve, and be able to connect all of those together to create this holistic wellness. I'm excited about Focus on Wellness 2021. I think Char's going to do an absolutely great job with this. We on every Wednesday at 2:30. She'll have different people come on with her. Those who have supported today, please keep checking in. I think you'll enjoy it. It'll be a blessing for everybody. I think it'll be a great time to really dig in and let's put some wellness strategies together. Lisa, Sharon, I want to thank you both for hanging out today. Everybody that checked in on Chad, Brianna, and Kim, Karen, Amy, all of you, I want to say thank you. Please share. Please get this out, and support this support group. You support this group that's designed to support you every Wednesday at 2:30. Focus on Wellness here in 2021. It's a new year. We're building new wellness to add on to all of the good work you've already done, and the best truly is yet to come. So Lisa, Sharon, thank you. It's been great. I can tell Char we did a good job. We stood in there for her, and she'll pick it up from here. Have a great one, and we'll see you soon.